What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be showing you 3 amazing branded Chimera combos that you need to know to play this deck. This deck is amazing, the amount of 1-card combos that this deck has to be able to just go in for some insane boards. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description in every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So for our first combo guys, I'm going to show you an insane 1-card combo just using Codal in our opening hand, meaning the rest of the 4 cards could be hand traps and this combo would still go off. So let's go ahead and see what we do. So what we're going to do is go ahead and send our copy of Codal from our hand to the graveyard to be able to add a copy of Mirror Sword Knight from our deck to our hand. Now the cool thing about this combo is these 2 cards are interchangeable. You can actually open Mirror Sword Knight into the exact same combo and not have access to Codal, which is really cool. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon out our copy of Mirror Sword Knight, then use its ability to tribute itself off your side of the field to be able to summon out a copy of Big Wing Baphomet. Now Big Wing Baphomet's ability is going to go off when it's special summoned to your side of the field, letting you add a level 4 beast and Chimera Fusion from your deck to your hand, meaning we're going to add a copy of Gazelle and a copy of Chimera Fusion to our hand, which is super cool to be able to get these cards because now we can go in for a fusion play. Plus, we have our graveyard set up for targeting protection and a negate when we get our copy of Chimera on the field, which is super cool. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Chimera Fusion and fuse both our copy of Gazelle and Big Wing Baphomet into a copy of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast, which is super nostalgic to be able to use these 2 cards to be able to make a copy of Chimera. Like, that's super old school and really cool. But now we have some chain links that we have to go through. So you want to chain block this play a little bit, which is really important to be able to do to make sure that your copy of Big Wing Baphomet and Gazelle go through. So the way we're actually going to go through these chain links is we're going to go chain link 1 Gazelle. Since it was used as fusion material, we get to actually add an illusion monster from our deck to our hand. Chain link 2 Big Wing Baphomet, since it was used as a fusion material, you get to target an illusion monster in the grave and special summon it back to your side of the field. And then chain link 3 Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, which will actually have the ability to rip a card out of the opponent's hand during the end phase and make them send it to the graveyard, which is great. So they start with basically 5 cards instead of 6 cards when they start their turn and they draw their card, which is really important for this combo. So chain link 1 Chimera, or chain link 3, excuse me, Chimera, chain link 2 Baphomet to be able to special summon back to our side of the field our copy of Mirror Sword Knight, and then chain link 1 Gazelle to be able to add a copy of Mirror Sword Knight to our hand. Now, at this point, you could add Codal if you didn't use Codal at the very beginning, but since we already used Codal, I like to grab Mirror Sword Knight, so I know I have a basically follow-up play with the copy of Mirror Sword Knight during the next turn, so I can basically summon it to my side of the field and keep going for more combos. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab our copy of Chimera Fusion back to our hand, since we control a copy of Chimera, which counts as Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, which is super cool that this card actually counts as Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast while it's on the field or in the graveyard, which opens up a lot of really cool plays. So at this point, there's actually a couple of different ways that you can go with this combo, but the basic standard combo that you do with this is you're actually just going to set to your side of the field, Chimera Fusion, and end right there. This is the basic combo and basically the bread and butter combo that you do. You basically get to this point, and then there's a bunch of different ways that you can go. But for this first combo, we're just going to set the copy of Chimera Fusion to our side of the field and pass over to the opponent. Now, when their turn starts, we're going to do some really cool plays. So right off the bat, we're going to use the copy of Mirror Sword Knight, tribute it on our side of the field, and special summon back out a copy of Big Wing Baphomet. This is the best target to summon because it's going to get you 2 cards to your hand when it's summoned to your side of the field. Since it mentions Chimera Fusion, we can bring it out with our copy of Mirror Sword Knight. So we're actually going to add a copy of Gazelle and a copy of Chimera Fusion, again getting us more pluses, which is just so cool about this card. I absolutely love that, and it just makes so much advantage with this particular play. Remember, we started with 1 card and now we have 6 live cards with this particular combo. Then when our opponent does anything during the main phase, we can actually flip up the copy of Chimera Fusion, going into a bunch of really cool plays. Now the neat thing about this is before you do this, you can actually use your copy of Mirror Sword Knight or Codal to give you a little bit of extra play with this, because if your opponent uses a monster effect on their side of the field while you control Chimera, you can actually banish this card from your graveyard to have it as a monster negate, and if your opponent decides to target a card that you control, you can actually banish this card from the graveyard to be able to protect your card, which is really cool because it has the ability that while you control Chimera, quick effect, if your opponent's effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a card you control while you control Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast, which this card counts as Chimera, you actually get to quick effect banish this card from the field or the grave to negate the effect if you do destroy it, giving you 2 forms of protection, giving you 1 form of negate and 1 form of protection, which is just so cool about this combo. That's why I love this deck so much, is because there's so many cool plays running around while you're going through your combos. So at this point, what you can do is actually activate your copy of Chimera Fusion to go in for more plays, which is super cool, because now what we can do is use either 2 cards on the field and 1 card in the hand, or 2 cards in the hand and 1 card on the field to go in for some insane plays. If you have not used your copy of Chimera's effect with your copies of your Codal and your Mirror Sword Knight, just leave it on your side of the field so you can get your negate. But this is so we can actually pop cards and draw cards going into a copy of Guardian Chimera. But guaranteed what you always use, what I always use, is the copy of Big Wing and Gazelle in my hand to be able to go in for it. 1 from the field, 1 from the hand. And then you can also, if you want to, use the Mirror Sword Knight if you want to, or you can just use the copy of Chimera on the field if you've already used the negates. For this combo, we're just going to use the copy of Chimera to be able to fusion summon during our opponent's turn, since this is a quick play fusion spell, to go in for a copy of Guardian Chimera. Since we used 2 monsters that are on the field, we get to pop 2 cards on our opponent's side of the field and draw a card, but we also have some chain links that we can go off with, which is really neat, because we can go chain link 1, chain link 2, or excuse me, chain link 2, chain link 3, to be able to bring back our copy of Mirror Sword Knight to our side of the field off the effect of Big Wing Burfmat, use the effect of Gazelle to be able to add an illusion monster from our deck to our hand, which is going to be another copy of our Mirror Sword Knight, so we can get more plays, and then we have the copy of Guardian Chimera. This could be Codal if you wanted it to be able to pop 2 cards on the field, which is just amazing. This is basically a blank, or this is actually not a blank, this is actually from the Gazelle. So at this point, the copy of Guardian Chimera is also going to let us draw a card, which is amazing because we did use cards from our hand. We used 2 on the field, which is the Chimera and the copy of our Big Wing Burfmat, and we used 1 card from our hand, which was Gazelle, to be able to get all this advantage with a 33 attack point monster, which is just crazy. This is a really amazing field. I absolutely love it. And then you have a Mirror Sword Knight for follow-up for next turn, because we have all 3 of our Mirror Sword Knights live now, which is just super cool that we basically got that off of 1 copy of Codal, getting all this advantage. Plus, you also have the ability of the Chimera in the graveyard that you can banish to be able to bring out any of your cards that you need during your turn, which is just super cool to be able to bring out any of these cards, basically a Beast, Fiend, or Illusion, back to your side of the field. So you can bring back your copy of, say, Big Wing Burfmat during your turn, or during your opponent's turn only with the effect of Chimera, to be able to bring this back again so you can go in for more plays later if you want to use Chimera Fusion to be able to make even more combos, which is just super, super cool. I love that about this combo, and it has so many ways that you can just keep going, but just with that, you get all of this with that 1 copy of Codal. So for this combo, guys, we're going to start off with a single copy of Mirror Sword Knight. And this combo is going to end with an entirely different end board, and it's going to be absolutely crazy. But it's going to look very similar to our first combo, because we're basically starting with just 1 card and going to get a crazy end board. That's what I love about this deck, is that it has so many cool 1-card combos. So we're going to start off with Mirror Sword Knight, which is basically the Lone Fire Blossom of the deck, being able to summon out a monster that mentions Chimera Fusion, which is absolutely insane. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon our Mirror Sword Knight, and then tribute it on our side of the field to be able to summon out Big Wing Burfmat. We're going to use its effect to be able to add to our hand Chimera Fusion and a copy of Gazelle. We're then going to go ahead and activate our copy of Chimera Fusion, fusing both of these monsters away to summon out our copy of Chimera, the King of Phantom Beast, using both of these monsters, which again is just super nostalgic to be able to do. I love that they basically just made both of these cards and to be able to summon out this new awesome Chimera. So we're going to do a couple of chain links now. We're going to go again, kind of like we did before. We're going to go chain link 1, chain link 2, chain link 3. The most important thing is that this is the last chain link, so you can chain block your opponent so they can't hit these two cards. Again, I usually do it like this, where we do chain link 1, chain link 2, chain link 3. So we're going to use this effect that during the end phase, we're going to take a card out of our opponent's hand. We're then going to use the copy of Big Wing Baphomet to bring back our copy of Mirror Sword Knight. We're then going to use the effect of Gazelle to be able to add to our hand a copy of Codal. We did not use Codal to search out our copy of Mirror Sword Knight at the very beginning of the combo, so I usually grab Codal now so I have both of these cards live with the copy of Chimera. So now at this point, we're going to go ahead and add back our copy of Chimera Fusion to our hand. Then we're going to send Codal to the graveyard to be able to add another copy of Mirror Sword Knight to our hand. Now, usually this is where you kind of get into different plays. This is very similar to the very first combo in board, where we basically got to this point and we went for a Guardian Chimera during the opponent's turn, but this time we're going for something completely different on our turn. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and activate our copy of Chimera Fusion to be able to use both of these monsters to go in for our copy of our new Baphomet, the Mythical King of Phantom Beasts. Now, this card is amazing in this deck because it actually lets us send a Beast, Fiend, or Illusion monster from our deck to the graveyard. And there's a lot of really good targets, but I feel like the best one to play in the main deck is actually going to be Barrier Statue of the Abyss. This card is amazing because it catches so many different effects by your opponent to basically just lock down your opponent. Unless they're playing specifically dark, this card just shuts down your opponent for so many different plays. But this is the one that I main deck that I'm going to summon back off the effect of Chimera during the opponent's turn. But just to show you guys, there is some other targets that you can actually use, which is the End of Anubis and Tiger King Wangu. Now, I actually side these whenever I play competitively with this deck, because this is the deck that I currently play competitively. And this is really some good targets to be able to use, because depending on your matchup, you can side this out and put one of these two in to be able to go in for those really insane plays. Because your copy of End of Anubis does lock down the graveyard, but you kind of got to watch out for that because it's for both sides, kind of like a Vanity's Fiend. So you kind of got to watch out for that, because as long as this card remains face up on the field, all effects of spell traps and monsters that target a card in the graveyard or that activate in the grave are negated. So you kind of got to watch out for that a little bit for cards like Gazelle and Chimera and your copy of Big Wing Baphomet. And then the effect of Tiger King Wangu is, as long as this card remains face up on the field, all monsters with attack equal to 1400 or less that are normal or special summon, or excluding flip summon, are automatically destroyed, which is the old text, and it basically just destroys the monsters that have 1400 or less attack points, which is really insane depending on your matchup. And these two are really good cards to be able to play in place of the copy of the Barrier Statue of the Abyss. So keep that in mind as you're playing the Chimera deck, that you can play any of the three of these in the main, but it depends on the matchup. I feel like this is the best catch-all one though. So we're going to go ahead and send the Barrier Statue of the Abyss from our deck to the graveyard off the effect of the Baphomet Fusion monster. And then at this point, we're basically going to just pass over to the opponent, because we used our monster in our hand and we set up our plays. And during our opponent's turn, we have some really cool abilities, because we have the effect of the Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts, that can actually go off, banish itself from the graveyard, and summon back our copy of the Barrier Statue of the Abyss. Now we have the ability of Mirror Sword Knight that can actually tribute itself to be able to summon a copy of Baphomet from the deck, which is conveniently enough a dark monster. So it works with this combo as well, because we can't special summon anything except for dark, which this card is dark, making it super easy to summon to your side of the field. Now the effect of Big Wing Baphomet will go off and let us add a copy of Gazelle and a copy of Chimera Fusion from our deck to our hand, essentially getting us this insane field, basically locking down the opponent with this card and using the copy of the Baphomet on our side of the field, while also ripping a card out of our opponent's hand during the end phase with the copy of Chimera. And we have our copy of Mirror Sword Knight and Codal in the graveyard that are both live, because Baphomet counts as Chimera the Flying Mythical Beast while it's on the field or in the graveyard. And if your opponent does decide to deal with Baphomet, you can banish it from the grave to bring back a banished monster, which can be your copy of Chimera, which is amazing that you basically just float back into the copy of Chimera, getting these two cards live again to protect you from targeting and protect you from a monster effect, which is really, really good. I love that about this combo, and it's just super cool how easy it is to establish a barrier statue in this deck. So I've showed you guys Chimera combos, but let's go ahead and get into the branded part of the deck. So we're going to start off this time with branded fusion in any two random cards in our hand. It doesn't matter what they are, and we're going to get one of the craziest fields I've seen in a while. So these cards do not matter what they are, so we're just going to sit them to the side, and we're going to go in for full combo. So we're going to go ahead and activate branded fusion to be able to send from our deck to the graveyard our Fallen of Albaz and a copy of Gazelle. So once we send those to the graveyard, we're actually going to summon out a copy of Ridbrom, which is an amazing card to be able to summon to our side of the field because it's actually a walking negate, which is super cool. We then have the effect of Gazelle that goes off that actually will let us add a copy of Codal to our hand. We can then send our copy of Codal to the graveyard to be able to add Mirror Sword Knight to our hand, and now we're completely in to the Chimera part of the combo, which is amazing that your copy of Branded Fusion can turn into Chimera cards because you have Ridbrom that requires a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster to be able to make, meaning you can use Gazelle from the deck as a fusion material so you can search out Codal and then get Mirror Sword Knight so you can go completely into your Chimera combos. We're then going to normal summon out our copy of Mirror Sword Knight, tribute it off our side of the field, then special summon out a copy of Big Wing Baphomet. Once we do that, we're going to add a copy of our Chimera Fusion and a really spicy level 4 beast monster from our deck to our hand. And that spicy beast monster is actually going to be Spriggan's Kit. This card is actually a beast and a level 4, so you can actually add it off of Big Wing Baphomet's ability, which is crazy. So now at this point, what we're going to do is special summon out the copy of our Spriggan's Kit because we do control a monster that's a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz. We can special summon it to our side of the field. So that is actually going to let us add a really cool branded Speller Trap from our deck to our hand, meaning we're going to add a copy of Branded in White. Now this card is basically Miracle Fusion if you have Fallen of Albaz in the graveyard, which is crazy. Now this is where the two cards that I mentioned before actually come in very handy because now, because of Spriggan's Kit's ability, we're just going to put any one card back. Now that could be any card from an Ash Blossom to a brick that you don't need, anything like that, like a Nibiru that you'd be putting in the deck to be able to use if you're going second. You can put it back in the deck because you don't need it going first. So there's a lot of options that you can put back in the deck for cards that you don't need, or extra cards that you might draw into, like extra copies of Mirror Sword Knight or extra copies of Gazelle that you don't really need in your hand. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to activate the copy of the Chimera Fusion. Since we have a copy of a Beast and a Fiend on our side of the field, we're going to fuse both of these away to summon out our copy of Baphomet, the mythical king of Phantom Beasts. And this card is actually a walking Foolish Burial, and we can actually chain block it, which is really cool because we can go chain link 1, chain link 2 of our Big Wing Baphomet to be able to bring our Mirror Sword Knight back to our side of the field since we used it as fusion material. Now we've used both Gazelle and Baphomet's abilities to be able to use them as fusion material. So now we get to Foolish Burial away a card to our graveyard. So we're going to send to the grave a really spicy tech card, Versago the Destroyer. This is a really cool fiend monster that you can play in the deck. That's actually a fusion substitute monster that can help us go in for some insane plays for a boss monster I'm going to show you guys in just a second. So now at this point, never forget to do this immediately after you fusion summon. Go ahead and add back your copy of Chimera Fusion since we control a copy of a Chimera, the Flying Mythical Beast, which this card counts as when it's on the field or in the graveyard. We can add back the copy of Chimera Fusion back to our hand. So now at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and activate Branded in White. And this card reads, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extract using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, including a dragon monster. You can also banish monsters from your graveyard as material, and if you're using Fallen of Albaz as a fusion material from your hand, field, or banishing itself from the grave. Meaning, it's basically a copy of Miracle Fusion for Fallen of Albaz. And conveniently enough, we send a Fallen of Albaz to the graveyard at the very beginning of the combo, which is crazy. So now we're going to use Fallen of Albaz plus the Versago the Destroyer that we sent to the graveyard, which counts as a fusion substitute monster to fusion summon into a really powerful boss monster. And can you guys guess what that is down in the comments? We're going to play Guess That Card with this really spicy boss monster that I'm going to lay face down and tell you guys it is a fusion monster that does require a fusion substitute monster plus a Fallen of Albaz as a material. And we're going to play Guess That Card and comment down below what you think this card is. So we're going to go ahead and reveal it, and it's actually going to be a really awesome boss monster. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys, because we're on the road to 100K subscribers, and every subscriber counts, and I really appreciate if you guys do. So let's go ahead and see what it is. We're actually going to summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, because this card counts as our Dark Magician, and this card counts as our copy of our Dragon, meaning this card is a fusion substitute that, as long as the other material is correct, which is a Dark Dragon monster, we can summon out Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, giving us another negate on our side of the field. So now we have the ability to be able to set our copy of Chimera Fusion to our side of the field, since we have another card in our hand, so our copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon is live. This card is in hand, this card is set to our side of the field. So now we pass over to the opponent, and the really neat thing about this field is you actually have some really neat interactions against the opponent. This card is a walking negate. They basically discard a card and negate something. This card says when a fusion, synchro, exit, or link monster effect is activated, quick effect, negate the effect, then return one monster from the field back to the hand, which is a really cool ability that you can return a monster back to the hand, so it's a bounce and a negate for a monster from the extract. Then your copy of Baphomet is basically a negate as well, because you have the copy of Mirror Sword Knight that can negate a monster your opponent controls, and you have targeting protection because you have Codal in the graveyard. And that's off of one copy of Brand of Fusion. You get all of this, which is just really insane. So let's keep going with the combo because we have more plays to do. So during the opponent's turn, we're going to go ahead and activate the copy of Mirror Sword Knight's ability to be able to actually summon out a copy of Big Wing Baphomet. Now, Big Wing Baphomet is going to go off and let us add a level 4 beast monster and a copy of Chimera Fusion. So we're going to add Gazelle this time, and we're going to add a copy of Chimera Fusion, giving us even more pluses. And go ahead and count the cards that we've actually played. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards that we turn from 3 cards into 8 cards, which is just crazy. Plus, we have 2 additional cards, so we basically have 10 cards on the field because we used 5. We doubled our card advantage off of just using Brand of Fusion and any 2 random cards in our hand, which is just amazing. So at this point, we have some really cool plays that we can do. So what we're going to do at this point is go ahead and activate our copy of Chimera Fusion, and we can go ahead and fuse away one of our monsters off our side of the field, plus a copy of Big Wing Baphomet and Gazelle in our hand to be able to go in for some really neat plays. We can turn it into a Guardian Chimera. So we're going to go ahead and fuse away our copy of Big Wing Baphomet. Let's just say that we've already used the effect of our copy of our Mirror Sword Knight and our Codal in the graveyard. So we're going to go ahead and use our copy of Baphomet on our side of the field, or if you use the effect of your Ridbrom, you can use Ridbrom instead. Just make sure you keep the copy of Dragoon on the field, because a lot of decks have a really hard time getting rid of a Dragoon. And we're going to use the copy of Gazelle in our hand. So we're going to get rid of all of these, maybe keep the copy of the Baphomet, use the copy of Ridbrom. Let's just get rid of Ridbrom. Let's say we already used the negate. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're actually going to summon out a copy of Guardian Chimera. Now, Guardian Chimera will go off, and we're going to go Chainlink 1 Guardian Chimera, Chainlink 2 Gazelle, Chainlink 3 Baphomet. Now, this is going to be really neat because we're going to actually summon to our side of the field our copy of our Mirror Sword Knight that we tributed to summon out our card, and then we're going to go ahead and add a copy of an illusion monster to our hand. So we're going to add another copy of Mirror Sword Knight for follow-up play. Then the effect of our Guardian Chimera will go off, and since we used a monster in the hand, we're going to get to draw another blank card to our hand, and then we're going to use its ability to pop 2 cards on our opponent's side of the field. So we had a negate, a double pop with our copy of Guardian Chimera. We have a negate with the Baphomet, which is another one. We have the negate with Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and we have targeting protection. You have 6 interactions with your opponent just off of one branded fusion and any one random card in the hand. We didn't even have to use the last card that we had in our hand because we didn't use Red Eyes Dark Dragoon's negate. But it does make it live, so you can set the copy of the Chimera Fusion, which is why I started with 2 blank cards plus a copy of Branded Fusion. You get all of this, which is just insane. I love that about this deck. It gets you so much card advantage, and it's amazing to be able to establish a field like this. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. I hope you did enjoy these branded Chimera combos and learn something about this deck. This deck is currently one of my favorite decks to be able to play, and currently the deck that I play competitively. I absolutely love all the amazing combos that you can pull off of this deck, but I feel like those are the most important ones that you need to know to play this deck, to be able to just basically go one card combo with this crazy powerful deck. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad. And if you guys would like to check out the deck profile, as always, it's down in the description down below for every combo video. And we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.